we'll just go through this really quick because I feel like I'm on repeat right now because this is my third time doing it. But anyways, this is super interesting. So you got Tartaria right here. And if you look at this, look how clear all this writing is. It's super clear. And as you can see, you got all of these little castles everywhere. What's interesting to me is there's some that are red, and they intentionally did that because you can see there's a bunch of others that aren't red. So what does that mean anyway? Look at all of those. They're everywhere. But there's only a select few that are red. And if you look, this place is surrounded by mountains. Look at that wall. Is that what they're calling the Great Wall of China? You see that? It is. Look at that. And I know that we were talking about that the last time, but they say that it was the Chinese keeping these people out. It may have been the Tartarians keeping the Chinese out. You know, China has this mythos of having a bunch of dragons and stuff like that. Dragon is also in reference to Satan. But look at this. It goes up this wall goes up to the mountain and it just goes up to it. What are those? What? I didn't even see these. Look at that. What in the world is that? You guys see that? It looks like a gargoyle or something. What is that? I didn't even see that. What? What? Look at those creatures. Interesting. Interesting. They almost look like sea creatures, not land animals. Or are those flying dragons? What are those? What are those? But look, they're all over. Look at these creatures. What is that? Does that look like that a beak or like an elephant tusk? Look at that tail. This is going to be more of a visual exercise more than a commentary. I just want to look at these maps with everyone. But yeah, check out that wall. And then it stops because the mountains are obviously higher, right, than the walls, so you don't need to build over that. If you want to come over that mountain, you'll be met up at the bottom too, right? Look at how it portrays that wall. And then all of these structures everywhere, look, they're scattered all over the place. There's significance as to why some are red and some are not. I kind of wonder why that is. Cathay. We talked about that in the last episode. Mongol, Tartar. You guys see all that? All of this is in Latin too, I believe. Yes, S Cobb, I did see that. That was crazy. It's a lot of mountains. Look at Tartar. Tinduk. Remember Timbuktu or Timbuktu? That old saying. That's interesting, Jason. Jason says maybe it was called Tartarus because it was in charge of the bottomless pit where the dragon was. Maybe. That's a possibility. But look at this. Oceanus Tartaricus. Where's the ocean of Tartaricus, guys? I'm curious. It's on this map. There it is. Europa. Europe. And still, all of these structures everywhere. Some red, some not. Mountains. I think this is a cool little exercise for us. If you guys see anything you want to see in greater detail, let me know and I could kind of zoom in on it. Because I haven't really looked at a lot of these maps either. So this is kind of new for me too. Okay. Check this out. See that compass? What does that remind you of? Maybe the Masons weren't the first with that symbology, right? They just kind of hijacked it just like they did all the buildings. That's interesting. Okay, so I wanted to go to this next one. Share this tab instead. So let's see. I'm going to go to the next tab. Okay, so we're here. And this is another one. So German miles. This one's Tartaria as well. Let's keep track of our time on this stream as well, because I don't want to go for like 3 hours, but this stuff is pretty interesting. Look at this. The middle meridian is, what does that say? Iso, unto which the rest are bendeth according to the proportion of 40 and 70 parallels. Okay, so where's all my smart people? Where's the 40 and 70 parallels? I know someone knows. Okay, so this is would that be the Pacific Sea? Part of right here, the Pacific Sea. Look, there's China again down here. Look, the Caspian Sea. You guys ever heard of that? Okay, and I wanted to show you guys something off of this that literally dropped mine and my son's jaw. But look at this. The Tartarian frozen sea. What in the world? What do you guys think of the Tartarian frozen sea on this map? Who's heard of that? That is insane. The Tartarian frozen sea. Look, the North Sea, the Right Sea. Where's the North Sea? Look, there's Tinduck again. This is okay. Look, what does that say? Is that Tart or CRTM? It's interesting. There's a lot of writing here. Is that what is that? Is that supposed to be island or something? More that is in. Yeah, I don't know. That's something that really caught my attention, though. Look at that. Tartarian frozen sea. Huh. That's definitely somewhere. They renamed it or something. Okay, so part of Europa. What is that? Siberia? You guys see that? Siberia. Kalmucky Tartary. So apparently was okay, so is this is just speculation, you guys tell me, but so was Tartaria this continent that also shared land with Europe? Because it says it right there on the top left. This is part of Europa, of Europe. And then you guys see over here, look, part of America here on this top corner. The Strait of Anian. So apparently America is right next to Tenduk, right? So would this be, is that Florida at the bottom, that little tail? Or what is that, you guys think? Is that little tail Florida? What's Alaska? Lit Path Ministry. So the bottom of that tail is Alaska? Is that what you're saying? You know, old world Florida is crazy. Oh, it's Alaska. Huh. That little tail is Alaska. Huh. Yeah, I'm so ignorant sometimes on all of these maps and stuff. It's interesting to look at them though, for sure. Okay, so let's let's go to this next one right here. And okay, so this next one, check this out. In Asia are the Christians. Okay, in Asia are the Christians under the Patriarch of Jerusalem and Antioch. The Is that Armenians? There's no way that says Americans. There's no way that says Americans. Let me zoom in more. Yeah, I think it's Armenians. Okay. I was going to say that's crazy. Armenians, Georgians, Circassians. Sorry, guys. Christians in Kazan and Astrakhan under the Patriarch Moscow of Asia, the Self and under the Patriarch of Musul, the Jacobites, Christians of Saint Thome Moronites. Sorry if I butchered that. Remember 7 churches which are in Asia? Which are in Asia. So this actually, I know this looks a little off, but this word actually says Christianography. What? Look at this. Look at this. No way. Look at that. What do you guys think of that? I'm going to get me another drink. Look at that. Is that the Loch Ness monster or whatever? That thing's huge. No, guys, look at how big that is compared to this land. It's as big as this landmass right here. Look. Leuconia. You see this Leuconia right here? It's as big, it's just about as big as Leuconia. Look at this. Look at that compared to Leuconia. If we're just doing a comparison in size to some of these land masses, that thing is huge. China is Shinar. Huh. Huh. That's interesting. That is interesting. Okay. Look, Kasky Tartars. Okay, the Caspian Sea. That was on the last map right there. You guys see that? So this one seems like it's giving us a little more, I guess would be to the east, because the last time the Caspian Sea was just right there on the edge. Okay. So what does that say? Tartaria, more Christians than, what does that say? In the Latin church, more Christians than in the Latin church in Tartaria. Okay. See, and that's what we're never told. We're never told. I think maybe now my mindset is kind of changing why Tartaria has been erased is because it was a Christian, it was the Christian nation. It wasn't this lame fake Christianity of America today. Is that Japan? Japan some? China some? Look, Christ right there. It's all over. You guys, okay, so I got a surprise for you guys, but you have to stick around. It's an old map of Jerusalem. And it is absolutely fascinating. So this is Christianography. Okay, so there's Europe. Russia right here. I know it looks like those are L's or something, but those are actually S's. It's kind of like the Geneva Bible type writing. So I think that is Russia. The Midland Sea. Is that is does that look like what sea does this look like today? Would that be like the Mediterranean? Is that the Mediterranean, what we're calling the Mediterranean? Is it this Midland Sea? Does that kind of look like the same shape? I didn't want to, yeah, Lit Path Ministry, it's the Mediterranean. That's what I thought. So yeah, apparently used to be called the Midland Sea. Look at that, Patriarch of Alexandria. The Christians in Egypt called Gofti under the Turk. What? Okay, look at this. Is that supposed to be Patriarch of Jerusalem? Oh, no way. Look, Babylon. You guys see Babylon right there? So Babylon was right next to Persia. Yep, there's Babylon. I saw that, Susie. That is interesting. Georgians. Look at that. This all says Christians. Look. Astrakan Christians? What's that? Look at this. Sarmatian, some Christians. Look. Kassar Soam Christians. Tarsus. Isn't that where Saul was from? Tarsus, some Christians, some, what does that say? That so that came to Christ dwelt here. Look at this. Chorazin. Remember that? When Jesus was prophesying against Chorazin because they didn't repent. Look at that, Chorazin. Look, Christian Saint Tome. All of this. Yeah, look at this. the Abyssine Christians under Prester John Dengali, Mount Amara, some Christ Angola. I don't know if that's proportional or not. That almost looks like a dolphin or something. It's got a little spout of water coming out. Okay. This says, in Africa are the Kophite under the Patriarch of Alexandria and the Abyssinian Christians in Ethiopia, probably under their Abuma or Patriarch. But look at some of these. Look at this head right here. That almost looks like that thing from Land Before Time, if you guys remember. That's as much as I could zoom in on that. But okay, so Calvin Andrus, he's asking which map it is. This is the Christianography map. Did I read this up here too? Look at this. In Europe are four sorts of Christians: the Protestants, Papists, Moscowitz Greeks. These two last agree with the Protestants and are not subject to the Pope. Now, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Not subject to the Pope. So look, there's Scotland, Ireland, France Papist. I'm curious. Is there any of these? Okay. I was wondering if there was a lot of these structures like this building right here around where it said the papacy was. Netherlands. So the Netherlands are right there. Switzer's, or is that right? Maybe. Look at Rome. Italy, Rome. You guys see Rome? So Rome in comparison, Rome was around here where it says Italy. Is there a year? You know what? I was looking for all of that, and on a lot of these maps, I did not see a year, which is kind of annoying. Let's see. There are a lot of numbers though. Let me just take a look around on these corners. I wish there was a year. Let's see. Unfortunately, I don't think that there is a year, Sheena. You wonder if these maps are PSYOP? I don't know. I mean, it took a lot of time to do this, and there's a lot of them. So let's see if I can. Okay, check out this one. And this is so. If you look at this, Great Tartaria. This is only partial. Yeah, there's no J's on this, and it's written kind of like the way the Geneva Bible style is as well. So this one, I just wanted to show it. It's not as detailed as a lot of these other ones. But what was interesting is this text on this side. So hath these five principal parts. So, okay, so the Phytic sorry, I don't know what that means or says, or Great Tartary, had these 5 principal parts. Tartaria, the desert. So the desert, the Semades, the Nagain Tartars, Kumbalik, I think that's Justina, so that's in the desert. Okay, Ufbek or Zagathe is Samarkand Bochara. Turkestan. Is that what that is? Turkestan was in Tartaria. Okay, Chialis, Chiartium, Tibet, the Lake of Kithe. And then you got Cathay, Kembabu, the residents of the Great Cham, Tenduk. That was the last one where we were talking about Genghis Khan, and also it was Chinggis or Cham. So, and we were talking about Cathay, Tenduk. So I guess that's where the Great Cham lived, was in Cathay, according to this and the other research that we did. So Tartary, true. The river of Tartar with the city so called, the horde of Naaman. So that's interesting. Yeah, Tartaria, it looks like it was just a massive continent, just like America would be. Let's see, I wanted to get some. Okay, let's look at this. So this was the map I used for the thumbnail. This one is super interesting, guys. So this one again, Tartaria, China region. Okay, wait. Hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me. There we go. So you got the Tartaria map again. Like I said, this is the one that I used for my thumbnail. And if you look, you guys see that? This is what's interesting to me is Gog and Magog is on this map right here. Gog and Magog. And then Tenduk right here as well. So that's where that great Cham resided, right? So he was actually in between Gog and Magog. And look at just on the other side, look at how close America would be to Gog. Just, I guess, what would that be? Just east of it? But that definitely says America, does it not? That definitely says America. And you can see all of these mountainous areas here. There's a lot of mountains in Tartaria. Look, is that wall again? Yep, that's the wall. Yeah, honestly, I think it is backwards because if you think about it, China's just right here in this little corner, but all to the east right here is basically Tartaria. And you know what? In a sense, China would also be a part of Tartaria too. Am I right? Am I reading that correctly? Okay. Let's see if we find anything else interesting. I'm still baffled though, I gotta be honest. I'm gonna show another picture because you still see basically very what's the word? Very farm-like. Doesn't seem like there's technology. So this is what baffles me because you got all of these buildings, right? Or these structures that are on this map that look like these castles. That's what baffles me the most, I think. Just because even at this time, how did these people right here, or a people of their time, build those castles when it looks like they're living in a tent? Does that make sense? Because it doesn't make sense to me. I can't wrap my head around that, guys. So Tagalistan, that's interesting. If you guys see anything interesting. So all of this is in Latin, and all of this can be translated. And on this other map, I did the translating process for us all. And you guys are going to get blown away by what it says. So look, the bow and arrow, remember on the last stream or the last episode we did, the Tartars were known for their bow and arrow skills. Armenia. What does this say? It's hard. All of this is in Latin. Okay. Could they float the tents? I don't know. Would that be Moscow? Moscovia? What would that be? Permia? What's that? So I think this is Europe over here. Moscow looks green. Yeah. Yeah, Lit Path Ministry was talking about Gog and Magog are near the Bering Strait, Alaska, in the Arctic Circle, further suggesting that the camp of the saints is magnetic North Pole. Let's look at that again. Is that a good view? You guys want to zoom in on that more? Let me know. I'll just hang out right here for a minute. So is Lit Path Ministry, is this the Bering Strait? Sorry, forgive my ignorance, but is that what this is? The Enian Fretum? Is that what that is? Yes. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. It is interesting. You know, we will obviously we can only speculate, but it's insane to me even that America is just that close to Gog. And then you see Magog right here. Gog and Magog. Okay. So that one is pretty interesting. Now, let's see. Okay, we looked at that one. Okay, we didn't look at this one. So let's check this one out. This one's another interesting map. Okay. So You got Tartaria right here, right? Intense again. Europe. Look at this dude. You got, looks like a lot of seals, like, like a seal of arms or something, like these symbols. Looks interesting. And look, the this is the same thing, but just a little different angle. Because what, that's America right there. Oh yeah, check this out. What does this look like to you guys? What does that look like? I'll wait for you guys to answer. What does that look like? Someone in the comments. Yep, California. Yep. Look at that. Isn't that insane? So what is, because the thing that's confusing me about California in this is because on our maps, California is on the outside, isn't it? Like the edge, and this is like California's on the inside, which is interesting. You got Japan. Look at that big old creature again. I wonder if that thing is up to scale or not. But look at the size of that thing. So California was an island, you guys are saying? Okay. Super interesting. Bartholomew, Japan Insula. So this is all. And maybe this isn't up to scale because you could see the ships as well. The ships look pretty big compared to the continent itself. So I don't think that the ships were that big, but maybe it's just blowing this creature up to show emphasis that it's around this Rocha Patida, and everyone knows, hey, be careful when you go to Rocha Patida because you got this creature over there. Maybe. Correct? Okay, so got China over here again. What would that be? India? Okay, you got, if I get the chance, I will translate some of this for us. On the map of Jerusalem, I definitely translated it because I was super interested, but you guys, like I said, you're gonna get blown away once I show that. I don't want to show that one first. That'll be kind of like the grand finale. So you got Tartaria. What's the green island? This one? Uh, Zuria. Is that right? Jason is funny. I need to look for maps that are already translated. I know, right? My bad. That's funny. Check this out. So you got this guy, looks like he's got a crown and a staff, but they're intense. Look at this. Magnus Cham. Interesting. Let's see. Looks like Belarus. What is that? Lit path. So Oceanus Scythicus. Hmm. Let's see. Did you guys see anything else? You saw Belgium, Susie. Did you guys see anything else you wanted to see? This one was pretty interesting, I guess, but there's others that were pretty eye-catching to me as well. And some of them you can read. It's like like I said, the Geneva Bible style writing, but others are just in straight Latin and it's really hard. Well, it's not really hard, you just can't understand it. There's Azareth, and look, you got four Esdras. So it's interesting that it's referring to four Esdras, but that's not in any of our Bibles. But it is referencing that. Magnus Cham translate to Great Khan. Let's see, where was that? Well, it said that he was so according to that other map though, it was saying that the Great Khan was closer to where Gog and Magog were over here, right? Wasn't it? Because I remember on the other map, it was right here by where America was. We were saying that it was really close. But who knows? This is fun just to speculate anyway. Canaan. Where'd you see that, Rev? Where was Canaan? The land of Cain? Which direction do I need to go? There? Where? I'm looking. Zoom into the east. Let me see. Right. Other way? You guys are funny. Okay. Do you guys see it? I'm still looking. Oh, you said east. I went west. Whoops. Let's see. Is that better? Uh, you guys see anything? I don't know. I don't see Cain. I'm sorry. Right about, let's see. This might be early millennial reign. Possibly. Possibly. Let's see. What's the next one that we shall show? Did I show this one? Yeah, I showed that one. Let's go to this one. Okay. This was another interesting map. But look at all these castles. That doesn't look like a bear, though. That is pretty interesting. Look at this big old city. So this river runs right through that city on that big castle right there in the middle. So I think this one was maybe Russia and Europe. Let me see if I can. Yeah, and that's, oh, look at this. There's a date. So would that be 1555 or 555? April A? Hmm. Hmm. 1555. There's another date, 1514. Look at that cannon. You guys see that? Looks like this is a horse and then a cannon. Good, there's some wars going on right there. It looks like war. Does it not? Yeah. You know, I had heard from another guy too that apparently the Tartars were really into owls. And you see an owl right here too, and apparently they used to wear the feathers on their head. But they still look real primitive. Look at this. Looks like, is he hunting in the tree? What is that? You guys see that? He's hunting in the tree. Still living in tents though. Look at that. Tartary. Christians. That says Christians. Huh. Where's this going? Does anyone know what language this is in? Is that Greece? Gracie? That says Christians, guys. Like a lot of these old maps say that's where the Christians lived. Maybe that's the Caspian Sea we saw on another map. It baffles me, like I said, that you got people living in tents and then you got other people's living in like castles and stuff. It's weird. It's weird. Look at this, 1570. Ho. I don't know what that's all about. Middle Earth. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you can see, if you guys didn't see it before, you can see going across the map from the top right here. Oop, you see that where there's the T? Tartaria. So you got Tartaria right there going across. If you guys see it, I'll pan back out. You could see it better. You see that now? So this was pretty interesting. Hmm. That was interesting right here. It looked like this lady or something was on like a pedestal with a baby. But I can't tell if they are giving reverence to her. What does that even say? That looks like it says baby. Idolum? That almost looks like idol. Okay. Hmm. That's interesting. Okay. Then you got this one right here. This one isn't as clear though, I wouldn't say. We got Tartaria, Cathia, Tenduk. So this is basically right around here where this Tenduk is, was also where Gog and Magog were on that other map. Look at Mongol right there. And then America should be to the west, or to the east of this, I'm sorry. There I go with my directions again. Okay. We'll just go to the next one because this one wasn't really. Okay, I got that one. Let's see what this one is. Yeah, this one's got castles all over the place. See, and you know how they say Jerusalem is where it is? I mean, wouldn't you imagine Jerusalem being built on like a mountain like this? You see how that is? That's how I would picture it. And what's crazy is I was looking at the elevation in Jerusalem not too long ago, and the elevation in Jerusalem is not even a mile high, but yet in the Bible it talks about it being like on the mountains and stuff like that. So it does not match up at all with what the Bible says. And those mountains are massive. It's too bad I can't read any of this, but no way. Look, Sodom, Sodoma. You know that in the Bible it talks about that. Let's go to that. Watch. That's interesting. It says Sodoma in the New Testament because I think it went from um, Greek and stuff like that. So it's actually Romans chapter 9, verse 29. And you see right here it says, and as Isaiah said before, except the Lord of Sabaoth had left us a seed, we had been as Sodoma and been made like unto Gomorrah. So, yeah, so that is interesting to me that right here it's in flames, like Lit Path Ministry said. So, look, you got Sodoma. That, oh, no way. Look, there's Gomorrah. What? What? Nah, man. You gotta be kidding me right now. You got to be kidding me. Let me pan out. Yeah, they're both on fire. That is interesting. Betharaba, Jethaba. So are those, do you guys think that those numbers are what? Do you think they're, look at Judah. Look at that. See that? The Lake of Fire? Huh, that would be interesting. But yeah, look, that's Judah. Petra, Eater, Carmel. Wasn't there Carmel Mountain or something like that? Look at that. This is crazy. Yeah, you guys. What? Look at this. Look at this. That castle looks even more massive than those. Look at that. It's on a huge mountain. Colis Achille. Look, a lot of these castles are on mountains. Look, there's another one. What? Look at that. Look, there's a star on top of that one. Jota? Rabbah. Look at the star on that one. Look, Judea. What? $173 or is that 73? Yeah, look at that star on top of that. Wonder what the significance is of that. That is interesting. Look, there's Judea again on the bottom. Wasn't it up at the top? Or am I mistaken? Jota. Oh yeah, it is. It was up top. Look, Judea 173 or 73. And then it says 74 down here. But look, there's a star on that one too. And some fighting. They're fighting right there. Whoa, look at this one on top of this. Look at that. That's not a star on that one. You see that one? Look, some more fighting. Some wars. Look, there's another one with a crown. Right there. Another one with the crown. There's another one with a star too. I wonder what the significance is of that. Obviously, those were a special type of location or building in order to put an extra star or crown over it, is my guess. Look at this one. This one is extra, extra. Look at star. That almost looks like the Pope hat, the fish hat. Does it not? Check that out. Yeah, I think Calvin, I think you're right. I think that those are years. Maybe something of significance or around that year. That's where it was, but it's crazy that the years are it's just spread out. I don't know. It's interesting though. Hebron, Escob, you see that? Montana, that means mountain. So all the mountains. Yeah, but that was interesting. Yeah, someone said miter tray. Yeah, look at that. Let me zoom in some. Hmm. Very interesting. And do you remember? Because, like I said, this was like the hat that the popes and stuff were wearing, right? But then in that other map, if you remember, it said that there was some that weren't subject to the Pope. So obviously there were some that were subject to the Pope. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too. That hat is a sign of Dagon. Okay, what's this? Look, there's another one. Look, there's another symbol. It's like a T. T, and then it's like a different kind of star. Look at these. Masida? Lebna? You think that's Macedonia and Lebanon? S Cobb, was this Tartaria? Um, this one is okay. So you're gonna freak out. This says the tribes of Reuben. So if okay, so if you look at some of these, let me see if I could just go back here. Okay. Okay, you guys are gonna freak out. But look at I okay, so on this is a good resource. So it's rare maps, and I just typed in Christian at the top. And we could look at a few of these if you want, but like this was one of the ones that we looked at in Asia. It said Christianography. But look at and I had picked this one out too, but look at this one with the star fort. Check this out. So, okay, so you got the star fort right there. But this, I don't know what this writing is, but this is incredible. Look at this. So, what this looks like to me is okay, so around this star fort, it looks like you can see the lines and stuff. Like this is water, like, like a moat. And then you got the bridge. Where was it? Was it on this one? Yeah, it was right here. So this is water. Then inside the star fort, it's land. They're walking on it. You can see. But then there's a bridge to get across this other moat, if you see that. And then you got, look at this walled city, right? You got this walled city. And then it's getting its water supply for this moat from the sea. Because look, you got all these ships out there. Interesting. It's a Starfort city. That's right. Look at that. See it, and they're still on horses though. That's what I don't. That's what baffles me. It baffles me that there's this structure right here, and these people look. They still got like spears in their hand, and they got horses and look camels and that looks like an ox bearing a load, a donkey. Like they look, he's carrying stuff, a sack with his hand right there. And they just look very primitive still. Does that make sense? It it's mind blowing. But yeah, you got that Starfort city. And it's genius too, because even on this backside, they didn't even need to finish it, right? Because the only way that maybe someone could even attack them is by sea on this side where they didn't finish it. But then all around it's surrounded by water, and it'd be a fortress. It would be a fortress. Okay. So, excuse me. Check this out. Okay. We can look at one of these. I can't look at all of them for the sake of time, but we can definitely look at some of them if you guys want to get a vote in the chat. So you got right here, tribe of Asher. Look, tribe of Gad, tribe of Reuben, tribe of Judah, Frankfurt, maybe not, and Jerusalem. But I'm saving that one. I'm not going to show it to you guys yet. I'm not going to show you the Jerusalem one yet. Where you got to be, we got time. You want to look at them? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Tribe of Asher. Let's see that. Tribe of Asher. Tribe of Asher. Enoch. Enon. Look at this dude. Look, he's fighting a dragon or something. That's as much as I could zoom in on that one. Do they have the tribe of Dan? I'll check after this, S. Cobb. Look at that, Sidon. Okay. Look at that. Dude's got a halo. You see that? Is that Christ? Look, there's another little mitre hat. You got flags on this at Sidon. Isn't that interesting? I'm gonna have to link the website for you guys. That way you guys can type all of this stuff in and use it as a resource as well. But see, like, even look at this. It's like a city that's literally built on the water. You got another, see, you got this, almost looks like some sort of crown, but it doesn't really look like a crown. And then you got this mitre hat in the middle again, and then that cross and ships. See, they were still traveling by ship. It seemed like that was the main form of transportation. So the Tidri Mountain, Bethan. Okay, that's weird. Look, Sauron. Isn't that from the Lord of the Rings, Sauron? Sauron Mons. Sauron Mons. The Phoenician Sea. Is that what that is? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Phoenician. Yeah, you got... That's weird. Uh-oh. Look at that. Look at that pyramid thing. Well, that's interesting. Whoa. It's in Middle Earth, yeah, right? But remember, this is the tribe of Asher. See, guys, this is even a mind boggler because we're told that all of these tribes or whatever are supposed to be in that little city of Jerusalem in the Middle East, where it looks like these were huge regions. Each tribe had their own region in a sense. But today we're told Jerusalem is the size of New Jersey, right? but yet all these tribes dwelt there. Like, no, I don't think it was. I think they had these regions, possibly. Okay. Still got all these castles. Look, I guess that's Tribus Acer, so the tribe of Asher. Look at that Belfort. What? The Belfort Declaration. Makes sense. So are the Belforts from Asher? Look at this. Another crown on top of that one. Elmelech. Elmelech. Look, another star on that one. Haycock. Amma. Yeah. That's still interesting to me with the sun rays over. Does that not look weird? Does that not look like those mountains are on fire or something? Or is that just me? What are you guys thinking about that? Yeah, I'd like to know what the numbers next to the cities mean as well. Someone else had said there might be dates, but that's interesting. Lit Path Ministry just said that the stars might be the capitals. Mitre Hat, Iron Cross, Templar armies garrisoned. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. Mount Hermon, look at that. Mount Hermon, guys. Enoch. That's pretty interesting. Look at the way that's spelled. Baal Gad Mountains. And the more I see these maps too, you notice it like it says right there, Campus Masfi. So that's the camp of Masfi. So just like we've been wondering, or look, Campus Libani. So this is where the camp of those people abode. So the more I think about it, and I think we kind of already figured this possibly, but the camp of the saints would just be, in my opinion, it might just be a region within this earth. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit in my new video about the north and stuff. And I referenced a Pilgrim's Progress in that. And the Pilgrim's Progress was about a man who basically made the journey to the celestial city on foot, by foot. Mount Zion, he walked by foot. So I don't know. It's interesting though. It's an interesting concept to know that we can get there by land. So I'm going to go back and this next one is a tribe of Gad. So if you guys can see that right there. Okay, this is a tribe of Gad now. Galilee, is that what that is? Mare Galilee? Yeah, Pilgrim's Progress is a good story. Tribus Issachus. Look, Manasseh, Tribus Manasseh. Is that right here on the bottom? That's Ephraim right there. Tribus Ephraim. Huh. But this main map is of Gad. Look, tribe of Reuben. There you go. See, because how... Okay, so what would this be? In Miliaria? Okay, let's see. I got to... Well, I don't know how much that would be. Would that be miles? Miles? An hour? Hora is hour in Spanish. So you can see... What would this... If this was miles, what would the span of the entire map be? Maybe 30 to 50 miles, would you say? Maybe? Okay, maybe. The Arabian Desert, is that what that is? Oh, you look at this. Balaam. Look, and you got the angel right there in the ass. That's interesting. That is interesting right there. There's another star, Jazer. Okay, Roth. What else do you guys see? Oop. Look at all those mountains, though. It's interesting, though. You got... Again, you got these stars, this cross, another star, another big castle with a flag on top, Dathermon. Look at this one right here. It's two hats on that one. Tribus Manasseh, the Manasseh tribe. Look at this, look at this. What's going on there? Mad Max, I honestly don't know what year this is. Let me see. I don't think... the bad part is some of these don't have years, but all these numbers on the map represent something. Obviously, I just don't know. That's just lost to us. What is this? Vinia Abelvine, maybe? Look, Philadelphia. That's interesting. That was one of the churches. Eli said maybe the number of families that live there. Maybe. Maybe so. That'd be pretty epic if you think... Oh, look, here's another war. Obviously, these people are losing. This guy's got a sword there in the front. Huh. Interesting. There's probably a big war. Sokoth. Chike. Beth Nirma. Okay. It's interesting stuff, guys. Really, really interesting stuff. Okay, so we looked at the tribe of Gad and Asher, tribe of Reuben and Judah. All right. Trish is going to make me do it. Okay. So this was tribe of Reuben. Look, Philadelphia. It's crazy that each individual tribe basically has their own map too. So this is Reuben. So is that the Jordan? Look, Jordanus right here. Look, Benjamin. Tribe of Benjamin. What's this one? The tribe of, what does that say? Ephraim. That's what it is, Ephraim. Tribe of Judah, which we'll get to that one. That one's the next one. What is this though? Look at Sodom and Gomorrah. What? Why is it in water? I'm confused. Okay, guys. I'm sorry. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. Okay, so we are going to go to Google Translator. And we are going to find out what this says because we can, right? Okay, so Mare, M-A-R-E. Okay, I'm going to share this tab with you guys so that way you can see what I'm writing here. So M-A-R-E, Mayor, more, M-O-R-T-U-U-M, M-O-R-T-U-U-M, Dead Sea. Look at that. We already got some progress. Are you guys seeing that? Yeah, you're seeing it? Okay. Look, someone already said, are they saying Sodom and Gomorrah were flooded in the Dead Sea? They are in the lake. What? They are in the lake of. Okay, so we're going to translate this. Dead Sea, Mare Mortum. Okay, got to find the map now. I'm going to actually pull it by my translator. That way I don't have to keep going back and forth. Okay, comma, bear with me. We're all going to find out, and this is going to be awesome, I'm sure. Dead Sea, dictum, D-I-C-T-U-M. Okay, D-I-C-T-U-M. Dead Sea said, okay, we're making progress. Et Mare, E-T-M-A-R-E, E-T-M-A-R-E, and this is Latin. The Dead Sea, also called the sea. Okay, the sea of what? Salsum. I think that's the Dead Sea. S-A-L-S-U-M. S-A-L-S-U-M. Called the Salt Sea. Okay. We're making progress. S-I-U-E. Sorry, guys, this is slow, but S-I-U-E. Or, okay. S-I-U-E. S-A-L-I-S. S-A-L-I-S. Or the Sea of Salt. A-T-Q. I don't know what that's going to type up. So A-T-Q. S-O-L-I-T-U-D. So solitude. Solitude. I-N-I-S. I-N-I-S. We're getting there. We're getting there. E-T. Lacus. E-T. So E-T-L-A-C-U-S. Right? Lake of Solitude. ASPH. ASPH. ALT. ALT. IDIS. IDIS. Period. The Dead Sea, also called the Salty Sea or the Sea of Salt, is a desert and an asphalt lake. What does that mean? Lit Pass said Lake of Fire. Lake of Solitude, not in God's presence. That is... Okay, that is... I'm going to get a drink. So that's what that says right there. Mare Mortem. So Sodom and Gomorrah is in there. And look at these other two. You guys ever heard of Adama? Seboyim? Okay, what's Adama? What is Adama? That's just what it is. It's just Adama. Thank you, Trish. Appreciate that. Okay. So, Salton Sea, California. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So, and you know what's crazy too is Jesus had rebuked Chorazin and another city. I forget which one it was, but he said that if the works were done in Sodom and Gomorrah, which were done in them, that they'd be still standing till this day. And look at them. Look at where they are. In a sea of asphalt. A sea of asphalt. Lake of asphalt. Terrifying. That's what G Ray just said. Yes. That is that's crazy. That's sorry. That is insane. I'm still trying to process. Okay, look, there's looks like there's look look like there's also where are these other waters flowing from? That's what I want to know. Because you can see, can you guys see these streams that are flowing into that lake? Joe Simone said, think tar. Man. A lake of ass. That's insane. Oh, that's insane. Okay. I had to translate that. I'm sorry. I'm like, no, we're doing this. But you guys, so that was in Latin. You guys can go and go to Google Translator, and that's what I did on this Jerusalem map. Okay, what's Scoby one saying? Asphalt is said to have been found in the Dead Sea per wiki. Wow. Okay. So again, tribe of Reuben. Look, Philadelphia up there. Benjamin. Michael, you missed a lot of the show, but we're still going. We're just looking at some of these old maps. We're looking at a map of the tribe of Reuben, but we're going to head off here now and see the tribe of Judah, which I'm interested in. Okay. So the tribe of Judah. Guys, this Okay, so apparent. Okay, let me go back to, I wish I could put all of these together. That would be interesting. So, okay, so if you see right here, this gives you kind of a comparison on the outside, and then we'll get back into it. But this little lake of asphalt, or lake of fire, if you will, is right here on the Reuben one. But then Judah, so this is what we're looking at. Okay, so Judah is right here. So we're going to be looking at all of this south of this lake right here in Judah. So we're going to look at Judah right now, tribe of Judah. Okay. How long have we been going for now anyway? I didn't want this to go on forever, but I did want to show you guys that map of Jerusalem. We're not going to leave without seeing that at all. Yeah, that's interesting though. Look, there's number right there. Okay, so let's okay, that doesn't. I'm just trying to see where that flows. Lingua Maris. What is that? Interesting. Okay, Lingua Maris means sea language. What do you think about sea language? That's weird. Huh. So this is supposed to be Judah, right? That's where our Lord sprang out of, it says in the Word of God, out of Judah. So I'm going to just start to the left. But you can see, even on these maps, okay, so you had, okay, so the tribe of Judah was in this region, but then to the left was Benjamin, and above it was Reuben. Below it was, that looks like Simeon, and Dan under Judah. So does that not seem like Judah is just kind of like right there in the middle? Which wouldn't really surprise me. Herodium. Herod, maybe? Moabite. Look, these guys are blowing trumpets. Judea. Look at that. Moabite. Huh. Look at this dude. Looks like there's someone in that cave. Someone on top of the cave. Someone inside the cave. Interesting. Look at this. Is that a dove descending? Or are these wise men? What is that? What is that? Look at that. Looks like a dove or something. Interesting. Salem. Right there, look. It's Jerusalem. It's Jerusalem right there. The real one, right? Well, that doesn't make sense. Look at the way this guy's dressed. Mm. Look, Israel right here. Got a couple people on these mountains apparently. So what would this be? Lebanon, Macedonia? Is that what that is? Nebo? So this is a tribe of Judah. This guy's kind of bowing the knee right here. Look at this triangle with a circle in it. What is that? What is that? Jezreel. There's Mount Hebron again. Look right there. So this castle is basically on Mount Hebron. There's a tree right next to it. It has some significance, maybe. Mount Hebron. Man. If you guys look, Judea right there. That whole lake of asphalt still got me tripping, guys. I'm curious. So what is that Judah right there? So Judah is right by that Scorpionus. Look at that. Sin. Okay. Okay, let's get to the juicy thing, okay? We are going to look at, is that what it was? Yeah, right here. Okay. This is gonna blow your guys' mind. This is gonna blow your guys' mind. Okay, so this is Jerusalem. Okay. Look at that code of arms looks like. But this is Jerusalem. And this right here on the left, all of this text, this is in Latin. And on the right, this is in German. And I know this because I translated all of that for us to read. Okay, so before we get into this map, I want you guys to read this, what it says. So yeah, a couple people are saying, will you post this live? We are going live right now, so this will be posted on my channel and you guys can refer back to all of this at a later time if you'd like to as well. Okay, so Latin. So the Latin says, let me go to it. Okay, so we're gonna share this right here. And let me see if I could. Okay, so in the Latin, it says right here, Jerusalem with its suburbs, as it flourished at the time of Christ, with all its landmarks accurately marked and especially the places in which Christ suffered and which are also worshiped with devout religion by Christians, according to the design of Christian Adri, Adrim, I'm sorry, Adricomius, delineated and engraved in bronze by Matthew Suter, SCMG Augustine. So this is basically a map, and it's saying of landmarks accurately marked, especially the places in which Christ suffered. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so that's what it says in Latin. And now in German, let me wait for it to transfer over for you guys. Got a little bit of a delay. Okay, we're good now. Okay, so in German it says, a sketch of the world famous city of Jerusalem. So even today, that little plot of land in the Middle East, it is not world famous. Like I would imagine what this is talking about, but check this out. A sketch of the world famous city of Jerusalem, including its monuments as they stood in bloom at the time of Christ, showing all the remarkable sights, especially those where the Savior suffered and which are still venerated with devotion by Christians today. Copied from the sketch by the famous Christian Ad- Adricomi and engraved in copper by Matt Suter. So basically the same people. They wrote it in Latin and then they wrote it in German. So we'll go back to the map now and we'll just go through this, guys. This is very interesting. So first off, if you see right here, I don't know if this was like transfiguration or something. You could see it looks like the clouds, like appearing in clouds. This is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, you got, what's this? Does that look like some sort of winged? I don't know. But look, here's another one. Look, halo. Is that the Lord appearing after his resurrection? Was that when he was here for 40 days? But it's all surrounded by Jesus. Um, Zabian, Mount Zion, I do not know. Honestly, the more I look into it, and I cover this in my next video that I'm posting, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think Mount Zion is actually in heaven. And maybe what was that mount that Moses used to go up to meet with God? And that might have been a representation, earthly representation of a heavenly mount. I don't know though. I'm just speculating. But look, looks like Jesus talking right here to some people. So notice this is a map all about Jesus. Okay, okay. Are these no. I was wondering if these numbers are almost like time stamped. You know what I'm saying? Like if they count in order. So 84, 85. And we're going to go through all of this. Okay. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay. Counting up for significant events during his reign. Yeah, that might have been. Okay. But look at all this. What is this? Is that when they laid the palms down? We're saying Hosanna. You see that? It looks like they got something in their hand. Interesting stuff. It's a little weird, guys. This is not what Jerusalem looks like today, which makes me question, is that the place? I don't think it's the place. Okay. This is some sort of, so this is, don't let this kind of mess you up, but just think about, you're looking at an aerial view of this. It looks like a walled in place with, to be honest, I don't know what that is. Okay. Get all this. Whoa. No way. Ooh. You guys see that? That rings a bell to Hebrews 11, where it's saying that they were sawn and sunder, right? Look at that. That's a big old saw. Man. Okay, I'm gonna go down and move to the left again. Look. Looks like a king or something. And then I'll go in close and then we'll pan out again because this one was epic. Okay, so we saw that. What's this? Looks like they got stones in their hand, doesn't it not? Yeah. And then I'm going to, okay, this is so epic, guys. This is so epic. Okay, this is how, this is, okay, we're gonna get into it. I'm getting too excited over here. Okay, well, I'm just gonna say it. Okay, so look, all of this is Jerusalem walled in. Look at this. This whole thing is like a fortress. It's all walled in, and then you got walls within the walls. Like this was a magnificent city, guys. Magnificent. Okay. So here's some more tents. We're gonna cruise around the perimeter. Okay, what's this? Oh, look at. Notice these guys are outside the camp. They're outside Jerusalem with their little fish hats. Interesting. But another thing to consider, like, are those really what we've been told today? I don't know. Okay, so that's the cross watch. I want to, okay, so it gave a path to Jesus and his crucifixion. So what's interesting, look in here, you got these rays, right? Looks like look at that. Looks like the seal on the United States, does it not? This is insane. It's insane. Okay. So right there you can see Jesus carrying his cross, right? Looks like he's got something he's beating him with. Okay, look. 116, 117. You see that? Down this road. Look, 118. Huh. And they wonder. People wonder why their judgment back then was so much more severe than any other. That's why he said, this generation, all these things shall come upon this generation. Look what they did to the Son of God. Beat him, made him carry a cross on his back. Look at this. 118. Look right here. 233. Where was 119 though? But that's that same road, look. That's the path. But look, 233.